We are going into the second round of the FS with Ray and with Pete.
Okay, so FS female, yeah, we were just catching up on the scores there, Ray. So Vosvin girls, 22, nice steady start for them, kind of about where they were averaging before. Yeah. 21 was the last time.
They had a glitch in the middle of that first round. I think that's something with age, and they'll get there in time. You know, more experience they get in competition. This is a very different round, though, Pete.
Absolutely, and difference we were saying between VFS and FS. You know, we've got 3 blocks here, and they ain't that fast, are they? I mean, when you put all 3 of them together. Although we're going to see the top teams making them look good. 2
of the new blocks as well. In this, we've had some changes to the blocks. I know they've been in existence. Was it a couple of years now?
A couple of years now, yeah. We've been flying them. 1 and 13, Ray.
Yeah.
They were brought in to help with the tunnel, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because the older block 1 a few years ago and block 13 as well were difficult to fly, I guess, in the tunnel. Very long formation, at least block 1.
Yeah, so now with the smaller tunnels. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually helps out quite a lot. But obviously teams are still getting used to flying these blocks as well, and how to make them faster and to find the small gains.
Yeah, I'm actually loving it, Ray. I'm really enjoying seeing the different experimentation that's going on with block 1 and 13. 13 seems to be steadied out to a massive vertical at the start, and 1 just spin them as fast as you can. Some teams are putting a cog in there still, and faster teams are just making it work and adding a little bit of a vertical.
But you know that's going to change, and like as the season progresses and more teams fly it more, there'll be a slight new variation of the technique, and that'll be great for us to see.
Certainly hope so. And FTO, current leaders on the board for FS female. Going in now for their round 2, 1, 13 and 4. As we said, a slightly more working round. A little bit longer because we've got more rotation happening on these blocks.
Definitely different pace and feel to the dive, and you know, NFTO dealing with it well, but you can see not as confident with this as they were in their round 1. And that might be from the fact that, you know, we have RC newer blocks, and it is a triple blocker as well. So. And
I wonder, that feeling of having done so well on round 1 is like, that can play with your nerves a little bit, Ray, can't it? Yeah. I mean, hopefully they use it as confidence to then charge for the rest of it.
And with the judging scores coming out so quickly as well, they'll know these when they walk into their rounds.
That's the one nice thing about these tunnel competitions. So those of you who are new to this event, this is a slightly slower looking round than the previous one and some of the later ones we'll see. We've got blocks with a lot of rotation. A little bit easier for those of you that aren't into this competition to get an idea of what blocks and randoms are all about. Triple block skydive in VFS, as we said, could be a quicker round. In this particular version, in FS, it's going to be a little bit slower.
Yeah, so next in we've got Niftis Wimby. And I think, you know, these girls would have seen the scores, and you saw the look on Pamela's face there. She wants to get things going, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, Pamela's a machine, right?
Yeah, she is completely. A lot of respect for her and what she's done.
A little bit of glitch there for end of the 4. Saw a couple of teams struggling with that up to now as well. Grip taken at the end of the 4, unless you are consistent with where that solo flyer, like we just saw there, is consistent with where that lands, you're going to be struggling sometimes. And if the back are not paying attention, they're key to moving on flow rather than the sequencing.
What's interesting is I was liking block 4 to the arrowhead in block 1 of VFS.
Yep, absolutely.
One's vertical, one's obviously on the belly. You can see the differences in trying to fly it. Like, you know, for here, you've seen the girls trying to bring it in close. So it's helpful for the outside flyer to make the catch at the end.
Absolutely, using physics to make things work for you.
Exactly.
Well, there we go. That's the second round of the female FS through the doors. Let's have a look at the scores for the open FS with Ray and Pete.
Yeah, let's check that out. So they're not fully complete yet for round 1. Just seeing the scores cycling through.
Yeah.
What do you notice?
So at the top, I think the Windoor Black Mantis, that team from Austria, I believe.
Austria.
As you were waiting to see how they would perform with Paul Hofsey in the team. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, no, that was Oceanside Atomics I was looking at. Yeah,
sorry, I get confused. Everybody's wearing green helmets. But at the moment, Windoor Black Mantis are at the top of the leaderboard with 27. Out of the blue on 25. So, and you can see some of the teams coming in with 25s, 24s, and 23. So it's tight, you know, from the inside of the pack. And we've got some.
And how about this next round, guys? What kind of scores are you looking at from the top guys, do you think? Round 2.
Triple blocker, yeah. So I'm hoping, I mean, hard to say, to be honest, because we've just seen a whole new level of speed brought into the game by the top
You're
teams.
hoping for like mid-20s, but whenever I say that, the top teams come in and they start going to the 30s.
And start pushing up towards the 3-0. Yeah.
Well, there we go. It's round 2 with Pete Allen and Ray Ahmed.
Yeah, so normally what we would do is we'd give some predictions for the rounds. We literally got the draw and went straight into commentating. As the day goes on, I think we're going to start working on that. So by tomorrow, you'll see a little bit more predictions. And by the way, you guys watching, why don't you give us some predictions for the rounds on the live feeds? I know there's a lot of armchair experts out there. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you're thinking. So in the tunnel right now, Ray, is Real Fly Fire. Struggling a little.
Yeah, some struggles there, a few glitches on the close of the 4. The energy you can see that then to build the 1 as well is not the best. Well, it's not the nicest move, I should say, not necessarily from them.
From the end of the 4 into the 1, yeah.
It's really one of those moves that you want to close, have the least amount of energy on the close of the 4, so you can go to build that 1.
Yeah, we're seeing teams struggle with that, aren't we?
Yeah, we
Especially with the memory element that we just saw there for Real Fly Fire.
There they got through it. A predictive score of 15, yeah, I'll be happy with that. Just try and get out of the tunnel.
All right, so now we have the Spanish team, Windoor Angels. They were they're pretty okay for their first round.
Got 21 on their first round, so
I'm sure
they'll be pleased
happy
with that.
I mean, when you consider that the 17-2 was their highest average up until now.
Good.
So starting their account with a 20+, they'd be happy with that, I'm sure.
And just looking at the draw overall, I know we're going to talk about this a lot more going forward, but it's not the slowest of draws. There's a lot of nice fast rounds in there.
I really like that first 5 rounds when it came out of the pot this morning. It was kind of nice to see some real obvious looking engineering choices, which means that teams can start focusing more on their mindset and technique.
Windoor Angels doing really well here. Oh, just as I said that, commentator's curse.
Yep. Although they managed to deal with it and move on from that 1. Looked like a little bit of a glitch in the grip taking. So just saw a potential bust there on block 13. We'll let the judges actually decide that. But obviously, when you're spinning those pieces, we need to show the piece complete the whole way throughout.
Exactly.
A lot of teams are taking wrist grips on that, even Hayabusa. Does come at a bit of a cost if you've got tension.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, if you're not all the same level or something has gone wrong, you know, it's hard to maintain that.
Yeah, any amount of tension, you get a vertical happening too soon or too late, and all of a sudden you've got a massive amount of pitch creating tension in between that wrist grip. Let's have a look actually as we go through this round, Ray, and see which teams are taking wrists and which teams are taking arm grips, and we'll get a bit more of a technique update.
So in now we have Equinox 4-way.
Lithuanian team with your bravely pronounced name.
Yeah, I only said I'll do it once, right?
Maybe I'll try it tomorrow. All right, so they're keeping things quite systematic with their grip taking into the 4 and the 1 that we just saw right now. They're also going for a wrist grip. So as we go through this competition for this round, we're going to be looking for specific things. And one thing we've just highlighted here, watch this next block as it builds. The outsides taking a wrist grip on the insides.
And that's block 13. Right.
Oh, bit of an interesting finish, but looks like we're out of time for the projected scoring. Just for those of you who are not familiar with FS, sorry, Ray, just catch up. I just got a little bit distracted.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so that was Team Equinox just coming out of the tunnel now, and now we should have in Team Standby. These guys are a mixture of mainly Italian teams and 1 Ukrainian. And I'm just trying to cycle through to their score from round 1 was a 20. I'm pleased with that. I mean, it was all pretty tight in the scoring that we've seen so far in what has been scored. So here we go. Let's see what they do with block 13 as well.
Absolutely, we're looking for that. It's going to look a little different from this team because they have their right-hand continuity. Wrist grips, Ray. Wrist grips so far seems to be exclusive. Let's keep looking as we go through the pool.
Yeah, there we go. So close the block 4 to block 1.
Yep, techniques of block 1, as we said. So 13 we're looking at right now. It's pretty clear. It's a 1-2, very similar to block 13 in the VFS.
That's right, the Arrowhead block 1. Yeah, so I think just talking about this wrist grip, because you think that taking the higher grip would make it a bit more efficient?
No, not at all. I just think it's different. There are different techniques. Obviously, it's going to keep the pieces a little smaller, and you can still rotate on that grip as well.
That's what I think, because you don't want to push down on the hand, on the grip too much, right?
Yeah,
so
we're
to
seeing
pivot
that
around
a lot, on the less experienced teams.
Right. Next in, we should have, is this the three men and...
This is 3 boys and 1 girl.
That's
This
right.
is the team with Mule. We've decided that Thomas is the girl for this competition.
Yes,
Yep.
he stands out in that blue suit as well, so
certainly
he's
does.
definitely going to be the girl.
And Regan earlier was talking about the different colours of suits.
Yeah.
And so now we get a chance to see the difference, Regan, between a black suit and a blue suit. What are you liking?
That blue suit, you can see it, you can see everything that's going on with the white gloves. It's a winner for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a wind tunnel here, we've got the dark backdrop to it. Sometimes they have lights behind it. That's
Yes.
also going to put a very different feel to it. Did you notice what grip they were taking on that 13?
I just missed it. I was trying to pay attention.
So there's
and
block 1, and then now let's check out a double high grip. Couldn't be more different.
Yeah, but it looks, as you said, it makes it smaller.
Yeah, it makes things smaller.
And you know, if you're light on those grips and you're working together, I mean, to me, it would work better. you
Yeah,
know?
I've done 3 options. I've done the wrist grip, the single high grip, and the double grip.
Right.
And actually what I'm doing now as coaching teams is I'm using a selection depending on what works for individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I'll have the back pair. You talked about putting pressure on the grip. I'll have the back pair doing the high grip and the front pair who are going up and over with a wrist grip.
It's similar to block 11 on the back piece as well, right? The pivot of the grip and how that actually works and how you can work together.
Sure. And as you said, keeping things small is definitely going to work. So next up is Blue Steel, my team from Finland.
Yes.
Did we get a score for them on the last one?
Should just have
24. I'm happy with that as the coach.
You said that at the time as well.
Yeah. Alrighty, they're going for the wrist grips on this. Interesting thing we're seeing here at the end of block 4 for different teams is whether they do a massive vertical.
Yes.
So coming up now, block 4, you can see the solo fly just shaving heads underneath rather than that massive vertical that we saw the French team doing, the 3 boys and 1 girl before.
And it's great, you can see the different techniques and it comes out from the different coaching as well, you know. It's interesting to see there's definitely a French style and you can see a Pete Allen style here, if I can call it one.
I'm actually enjoying watching them. Yeah, I wonder why that is. No, I'm very proud of the guys. Wasn't going to be as fast as round 1 without those randoms in, but executed those 3 blocks, triple blocker, quite nicely.
They look really pleased with that as well. So next in we do have the Windoor Black Mantis. They were on 27 for round 1.
Yeah, that was very exciting to see them because didn't really know where they were going, did we? And very nice start to the competition. I'm sure they're happy with that. Their last average was 20, so to open their account with a 27, so they'd be happy. Some
of the scores are now coming through for the other teams for round 1 for the FS Open. And STC Rhythm, we talked about their round. They scored a 33 on round 1.
Nice one, guys. Very nice. So and, double high grip, here on the 13. Go ahead, Ray.
ISR Fire Flash scored 30 on that round as well.
Beautiful.
So waiting for some more scores to come through.
Nice. Yeah, so we're just talking about the differences. So far we've seen 2 teams going for the double high grip on block 13. This team that we're currently watching now, the Black Mantis team from Windoor, Austria. Different techniques. That's what makes it exciting. It gives little sort of cultural and coaching differences and the way people fly.
They look really pleased with that round as well.
I think teams are getting a bit of a rhythm now, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the double grip and the single grip, high grip and the wrist grip is all, it might be confidence of team as you're building it as well. And it might evolve with your team in time as well, right?
I would hope so, yeah. I hope the techniques that we learn at the beginning of our time as a team will slowly develop and improve as we go on. And it's the teams that are training these hundreds of hours together that are doing all the research for us. You know?
Exactly.
Getting some hard data as what works as well.
So now we have the Hungarian team. And I have already forgotten their name.
Lucky Boys.
Lucky Boys.
Lucky Boys. You lucky, lucky boys.
2 lucky boys to have such the 2 girls on the team there in the centre.
And going for not much of a vertical on block 4. Oh, little struggle into block 1. We're seeing a lot of teams struggle with that cap build on the outside. Looks like we have the wrist grips again on block 13.
I think it's all about the energy in the close of that block 4 that puts you into a good position for the top of block 1.
Yeah, we've seen the cat guys kind of land with a lot of energy in the center there. It's going to slow things down for the start. I'm excited to see how the other teams are going to be not engineering, but technique side. So when we talk about technique and engineering, two very different things. Engineering is who goes in what slot, which particular random we build, which way round we build stuff. Technique is the function of the block, like the moves, the way we do it, who goes first, who goes second, etc. And those are big elements that we play with when we're engineering a competition. The first 5 rounds of this competition will take teams not very long.
No, I agree. We might have some interesting stuff coming up tomorrow,
yep.
which I'm looking forward to talking about. But yeah, as you say, this first 5 rounds are pretty much straight up.
Yeah, straight up. All American, as it used to be said.
Although I'd like to see what the Russians throw in. You never know.
Guaranteed we're going to see something interesting. Although we did see those different turns on the 14s to the queue on round 1.
So here we've got Out of the Blue in the tunnel now, and nice and consistent. I do like watching this team. Yeah, they're doing a good job. No real glitches so far. Pretty much a standard working dive as we'd expect.
With the wrist grips as well on block 13. So that so far wrist grips are winning with regards to the pole. Seem to be doing quite a nice job of it. I think that's how we're going to see Hayabusa play that round as well. As you were saying, who coaches you, you tend to imprint quite a lot of that on the team. So Ray's favorite team, they're not a bad bunch at all,
yeah,
are they?
They're good.
Really
Actually,
nice
I can't
team.
keep saying that, can I? My favourite team.
Are you allowed to be opinionated? That's why you're a commentator.
And boy, do I give my opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, next in we have Team Papaya.
Spanish military group, yeah. So we saw they got 2 new team members. How did they do? 22.
22 on round 1.
Yeah,
they'll be pleased
team.
with that, right?
I would say so. So they've only been together for a month. So I would say that's a nice little opener for them. Technique-wise, we're looking at wrist grips on the 13, small vertical on the 4, and a little bit of a cog, quite a lot of a cog happening on block 1. So when we say cog, if you look at the block that's coming up, even now on this, with teams are cogging around, you see here, one team will go through before the other. Normally, they've done that, but on this particular one, they went through at the same time and had a bit of a vertical. Those will be the 2 differences in the technique so far for block 1.
Which do you prefer, Pete?
I like spinning, but it depends on the team. You know, if you've got a team that doesn't quite have the ability to make a small vertical, then you want to go for that cog so that they can avoid kicking each other.
I like the spin as well.
Say again?
I like the spin.
Yeah, just spin it and put them back together.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that block may have come from Hayabusa.
I think so. I remember it being proposed.
Yeah, just get in there and spin it as fast as you can. I like that technique.
So this is Oceanside Atomics. So these guys, interested to see if their scores are coming up. Hopefully they are. Yep, 25 for Oceanside Atomics. So, you know, in the middle of the pack, really, where everybody else seems to be at the moment.
Which means that it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen that first round come out, but teams are going to find different rhythms. Some teams are going to feel like they are more confident out the gates. Some are going to find their confidence as they go through the competition.
Exactly. And I mean, if I were a competitor in this competition right now, I think I'd be happy to have these 2 rounds that we've just seen at the beginning. And you can ramp up, as we're going to see through the draw. There are going to be some faster rounds that come up. And, you know, you would have built your confidence. You won't have the first round nerves anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how the competition develops, because there can be points that can be lost coming up in the faster.
Absolutely. And surprisingly enough, we saw all the way up to round 10. We saw quite a fast round up to round 10. So depending on who lies where, at the end of the competition, we could see some position changing happening right the way through to the end, which is always exciting. So this is the German national team. So the
German national team just exiting the tunnel there. So next in we will have the Wimby Unicorns, I believe. So some scores flashing up from round 1, and you know, you call it as you see it, but we have some scores. Arizona Airspeed with a 34.
34. So I'm interested to see were there any busts there.
I think so.
That means that the competition is full on, and let's go and see. What are we going to say with Hayabusa? Go on, make a call. Are you going to wait for the?
I'm not going to say anything right now because I keep getting it wrong. So I would like to see what the busts are as well, just to see. You know, from what we were looking at, it just looked that the rhythm had the that had it, and so it'd be interesting. And it's very you know, what you see and what the final score is often quite different. I must say, just looking at Wimby Unicorns who are flown in the tunnel right now, their start to block 1 was very nice. They came out the door rolling into it. They're going for the
double wrist grips from what I can see on block 13.
I'm liking their block 13. It's really nice.
It's nice and small, huh?
Yeah, not so good on that.
You mentioned that about the build to the one, and that's been a consistent issue for teams.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly. It's just that block 4. I mean, normally, you have something to rotate into, but this moving the pieces and trying to bring them back together for block 1 from the end of the 4 is actually quite tough.
And interesting enough to see, everyone's been kind of going with a standard setup for block 1.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see some different versions of block 1, people in different slots.
Yeah.
I've not seen anyone do that. I'm sure they've been talking about it. So
and I'm sure
see.
in time we're going to see more of it, right? I think just get more experience of the block as well to see where you can put it in. But you're right, I haven't seen it, the variation.
You mentioned in time, and obviously that's the judging system that we're using here as well. And they, just to give you guys a heads up, but for the FS geeks out there, they're doing live judging. Even as we speak, the judges are practicing using a new live judging system that Claire and Dirk from In Time have implemented. So looking forward to seeing how they cope with that.
Yeah,
we'll explain that as we go more detail later. Yeah.
We are seeing the scores coming through quite quickly as well, which is always good to see.
Very quick, yeah. And that's something that's been missing for FS competitions, is that time that you get from the end of the team scoring, the end of the team flying to the scores coming out. And thanks to Claire and Dirk, they've been working on this system, and here we go, getting almost instant scores.
And just remind everybody, guys, what they're watching in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there with those scores.
So these are the predicative scores. So we have somebody that's looking at the predictive scores that they can see, and this is only an indication. There could be some variation to what they see. They might not see some of the busts, the emissions that could be in there, but it's just to give you an indication of the pace of each team as they go through their rounds.
And do we know if that's a judge, or is it just a flyer, or a member of staff?
It's an experienced skydiver,
right.
Who's got some time looking at indoor.
Yes.
Neither a judge nor an FS jumper, but someone who really knows what they're looking at, actually,
Excellent.
for the first time.
Good advice, good information.
Cool. And so we saw Echo Chamber from Sweden quite mechanically going through the round, as we thought we would see from them. As we said, they've been training with their rigs on, so they're going for precision and steadiness.
And now,
now
we've got, I think this is ISR Fireflash.
Fireflash, yeah.
Who had a good round, first round. I believe they got 30 on the first round. And I think the scores are finally in for the FS Open. And Hayabusa scored 32.
All right, so it was pretty much what we saw.
Yeah, exactly.
That Hayabusa had a little bit of a surprise there from the other teams who were not holding back in the slightest. No respect there. It's let's give 10 rounds and see if we can beat those boys. I'm sure that's what they're thinking right now.
I mean, you nailed it with that first round. You did say that airspeed had flow, and that's the first time you used that expression, flow. And maybe something I didn't really pick up on, but it'd be interesting to see that they've got some competition, which is great.
Man, I'm really happy for Hayabusa. To have this situation after round 1 is definitely going to change the mind game for those guys, and they need that. They need to stay vital and challenged at every level, even if they're not, especially if they're not expecting
exactly,
it.
It's great.
SDC Rhythm, really good to see these guys coming out the gate with Drew.
I'm excited now. It's really good.
Absolutely. Let's see what kind of technique changes we see there after seeing Fireflash go through. All right, here we go. Block 1 out the door, almost grip intact. There we go, straight into it. And a little bit of a cog for the first one, and wrist grips for block 13. A little bit of a vertical, pretty straightforward. There you go, Ray.
Yeah,
same issue. You highlighted that right from the beginning.
That was from the top of the block as well, though. They didn't build it properly. You're out of sync a little bit.
They picked it up on the second time round, though. So they noticed the problem. A lot of the time, you prep, you think you know the way the skydive is going to go. You get in the tunnel and you get a bit of a surprise on a certain transition. And that's what the team found there on the build to the 1 from the end of the 4. I guess a lot of it could be the levels as well from the end of the 4.
I think so. And it's...
So 25 is a projected score. Again, as we've seen, we've got to be careful with those projected scores. They don't incorporate maybe any of the busts. And it's someone watching from outside. But so far, that puts them at the top, I guess, of the game. And
it didn't look as smooth as their round 1.
Nope.
They also don't look as happy coming out of the tunnel. But we'll see. I mean, you're going to have this sequence as we're seeing develop, the triple blocker. We are seeing those issues with block 4, from the end of block 4 to the top of block 1. From many teams and some of the experienced teams as well.
Yeah, the tunnel has brought a very different element into our sport. Up until now, we've been quite safe with our expressions and our mindset. But now we're exposed. We're exposed in the tunnel. People get to see you as you walk into the tunnel, whilst you're flying, and as soon as you come out. So you've got those emotions on display.
You see, the Russians it's IFS Moscow.
Yep.
And they are just slowed it down a little bit in the middle there, just making sure that they're on and off at the same time.
They don't want to make that same mistake.
Exactly.
You know, they've been watching teams struggling with that one build maybe, and they've gone, hang on a minute, we're going to make sure we don't drop the points here.
Exactly.
Because you go fast, yep, you could risk it and maybe try and score one more point, or you could lose 3 or 4 seconds as you try and rebuild from a bit of an issue.
I mean, I think that glitch that they had in round 1 did cost them a little bit. They scored 27.
27.
And I would be expecting them to see them in the 30s, or from where the other teams actually are. So
look, how do you know when a Russian's happy? It's hard to know, isn't it? They've got kind of a bland expression, and it's cultural. It's great to see the cultural differences on all the teams here as well. There's Nicholas and his 2 new team members. Really good to see Chris and Joey rising to their game. I mean, how about that? Your first ever competition.
Exactly.
You're in the lead, round 1, guys. Deal with that in your heads.
Let's see what they've got for this one as well.
Yeah. So not quite grip intact, dropping on that last grip on the 1, double high grips on the 13,
nice
and
build.
pretty standard 4 technique. Using they're flowing into that 1 very nice. It's like a slightly slower build from the 4. They kind of just, there we go, and then boom, straight out into the 1.
This is like masterclass, really, for, as you said it again, flow.
Something that not all teams can bring to the game because they don't have the time together, but flow is something where you're noticing, you know the moments when you need to go a little bit slower so that you can all arrive together, and you're moving at the speed of the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it looks like that right now. What we're seeing right now is we're not seeing someone ahead of the game.
No.
We're seeing 4 players working very synchronously together.
This is how I see Hayabusa have been for a long time.
Completely.
And we didn't see that on round 1, so we saw it more with Airspeed, who are a newer team. So it's interesting, right?
And I don't know if you've noticed, but Airspeed have actually borrowed a lot of Hayabusa's techniques as well now. We're starting to see a little more rotation on certain blocks that before were translation for Airspeed. So very nice to see that. Hayabusa, I wonder how those guys are feeling. They're in a position they don't normally get to feel at this stage of a competition. So I'm thinking they're using this as experience, which for a team like this, you just can't, you can't invent that stuff. You have to come to a competition, you have to expose yourself to success and failure, and that's kind of why we love this.
They've got flow, definitely have flow here. Again, that wrist grip.
Yep, and super tight. Look how tight that 13 is. They're obviously spinning the 1s. Check this, look how tight it is. You can barely see that piece spread out. And obviously the physics, if you can keep that piece as small as possible, then it's going to spin quicker.
They're coming back strong. They're definitely the highest score I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think they took that as a bit of a slap. I'm hoping so anyway. But 10 rounds, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good to see. That's the Hayabusa I expect to see.
Yeah, there we go, guys. Very nice. Round 2 from Hayabusa, as Ray's just been saying.
They look happy.
It's good stuff. It's the first day of Win Games 2020. It's getting exciting already.